and honoured to introduce to you tonight the talented and awesome Mr. Skyler Jett. Skyler, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. Please, can you share with the listening audience your background before entering the music business?
Well, I come from a family of musicians and activists, and I've been doing this for many years, and I actually love traveling and explaining about my project, Music for Global Change. The cool thing is that it's being, recepted better now in these years. It's taken me a long time to get it off the ground because there's the positive music, community is not a huge community, although there's many people doing what I'm doing, but there's no outlet for it, right? There's no there's not a lot of radio stations that accept this kind of music. So my thing is about writing lyrical content that heals, educates, and solve problems. And with beautiful instruments, it could be anything. It could be any kind of instrument you want. But as long as the music is community-based and that we can get the word out and try to help people solve problems in their lives and in our communities.
Wow. Thank you so much, Skyler, for that fantastic answer. It is an important thing, music, and definitely for the next generation. And I know how important that is for you. I'd like you to really just talk on, Music for Global Change. Just explain a little bit more, what that's about and, how people can get involved.
Well, if you know people that write social conscious lyrical content, they fit right in with what I'm doing. What I like to do is go do like a speaking engagement around what I do with college kids, and then the next day go and perform my music so they can see how it's done. And it's really cool because when I say I do social conscious music to young people, it kind of just goes over their head. It's not exciting saying it like that. But when they see my videos and they see my presentation, they get it. And the cool thing is, I usually have young people get back to me and go, "Hey, Skyler, hey, I just wrote a social conscious song, and my friends really like it." And I love that because you're not talking about yourself. There's millions and millions of love songs out there, but we need to write more music that's going to help change someone's life. And we can do that through the number one language in the world, which is music.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Music, whether in terms of the verbal, the words, whether the person speaks the same, language or not, once you play music, everybody understands that. Everybody knows that, people, you can feel the vibe. It's like you said, it's got its own sound, its own, language that people can, the language of the soul, the language of the emotions. What's your thoughts, Skyler, on what's actually going on with music today?
Well, since I'm from the old school, I try to go out and present the human sound, right? We're getting away more and more from the human sound. The internet's only been here since 1996. So if you look at all the young people born after 1996, more and more the music has gotten diluted by using technology, right? And so they don't know, and they haven't heard a lot of humans and why it's emotional. Humans have emotion. With a computer, you have to program your thoughts into the computer and read it back. With playing an instrument, it's instant gratification, and it's more personable, and your emotion can come right through that instrument, and so I want young people to have a chance to see what I grew up with, which human beings. I mean, back in my day, if the bass player didn't show up, you didn't have bass. If the drummer didn't show up, you didn't have drums, right? And now man has outdone himself with all these computers. So you can create drums through a computer, but it still is not spontaneous, right? And that's what I love about the human sound. And plus, I want young people to pick up instrument and get your feelings through that, rather than typing your feelings, through a computer and read it back and call them the music. I'm not knocking what they do. It's just that it's time for them. It's time for young people to feel what we had a chance to feel. You and I, we were around before computers, and so there was music here way before computers. And a lot of these young people wouldn't know that. If pretty soon, if they keep going in that direction, they won't even know what a guitar looks like. They just look at it on a screen and go, "Hey, that's a guitar." No, you don't you want to see this person with their fingers and fingering these amazing strings and getting their feelings out? That's a better feel to me, And I want young people to have a chance to experience what we had a chance to experience when we were youth.
Wow, that's so true. We don't want computers to end up, guitars to end up in a museum where people go and take photos of it, once a year. Like you said, you want people, getting their fingers and making these beautiful sounds and, changing lives. And absolutely, back in the day when I was, and yourself, we were growing up, that's what music was about. It was about, people playing, real instruments and, making a difference and, changing lives. And, what I want you to touch on, Skyler, is, what do you feel, what is stopping? Because, someone like you and, a little bit later, I really want to bring home to people your background, because as you're saying that, back in the days, we used, real instruments, and it was real people singing, from their own voices and what have you. So what is stopping that? Is there something stopping? Is there something spooky, or is it that we've just lost, the understanding of what real music is? And have we just gotten so caught up with the internet world?
Yeah, well, for me, like I said, the most beautiful thing about the human sound is that it, like I said, it's spontaneous. Music is an emotion, right? And you bring your emotion through that instrument. I remember this experiment, like playing the blues. Okay, so if you're going to go and play the blues, you go play the blues tonight. But tomorrow night, let me step on your foot before you go on stage. It sounds different. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that's some real pain. And like I said, there's things that you could do when you're playing live like that. With the computer and stuff like that, you have, once you push the button, it's rolling, right? But back in our day, we could break it down. Let's talk to somebody and stuff like that, spontaneously, right, on the stage. Well, you would have to go back and program that into the show with the computer. Now, there's things that I like to talk about. That's a part of my project for Music for Global Change. There's things that I want to abolish in music. Our industry is in peril right now. And if we're going to start over, we should take some of the things out that was wrong in the first place. Music is about feeling. So say a little black kid comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I heard some country music the other day, and I really like country music." Well, the country industry discriminates against black people playing country, or discriminates against black people playing rock. And that's wrong, because you go to the piano, it's still about the 12 notes, right? It doesn't matter what kind of genre you're going in or what area you're going in music. It's still 12 notes.
Right. Yeah.
So let's take that out of the, let's give a chance to every child to play any style of music that their heart desires, right? Mm-hmm. So take that out of racism out of music. And the other thing is, I want to abolish the whole image thing. Hey, they sound great, but they don't look good. That's wrong.
Yes.
Because music is about what you hear. It's not about how it looks, right?
What you feel.
A prime example is that I can take you in my car and drive down the street, and we can channel surf on the radio. And if you hear something you like, I can ask you, do you like that? Oh, this is amazing. Do you really care how they look right now? No. But that's how the industry turned into. It got to the point where you got to look good to play music. There might be an unattractive child out there, and we judge them on the way they look, but they might have been the next Tchaikovsky. Mm-hmm. So we got to take that thing out of it. The image, take image out of it. Judge somebody on the way they sound. Yes. How does it make you feel? Yeah. You go to school all your life for music, but still, how does it make you feel? It could be technically right the way you want it to be, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not jumping to your heart. And so that's what that's about, right? So racism, take racism out, take image out. And then we have to take age discrimination out of music. Because if you go up to a piano with a 10-year-old finger and you hit the key of C, class, what does it sound like? The key of C. Yeah. The key word was there, sound. What does it sound like, right? So you come up with an 80-year-old man, you say, sir, will you hit the key of C, right? They hit the key of C, and what does it sound like? That's the key of C. So it doesn't matter if your finger is 10 years old or 80 years old, it's always going to sound the same, whatever key that's supposed to be, right? So we got to take that age discrimination out. There's so many amazing elders out here still playing music, but they can't get a record deal. Yeah. You don't even hear them. You got to go back and listen to their old music, right? That's wrong. So they're discriminating against the elders. Earth, Wind and Fire puts out new music, but you don't hear it. No. Because they judge them like that. So I encourage everyone, if you doing a concert and there's no age limit, please bring your kids to those concerts so they can see human beings playing. So you can see how talented these people are. Maybe the kid might go, "Oh, I want to play that instrument right there. How do I get started? How do I get started?" Right? And then for the parents, don't be scared to walk up and talk to a musician, especially if your child wants to play music. I've seen people at my show. Oh, well, he doesn't have time. He won't have time to talk to us. So that's crap. I want to talk to your kids because I want to inspire them to go pick up an instrument. Maybe they fall in love with it. Maybe they become an icon because you encourage them and inspired them.
Wow. I love everything that you said there, and it is so true. What has music got to do with race or how somebody looks or what age somebody is? And I love the description you gave there, and I love that you also say that, musicians want to speak to the next generation. They want to, inspire them. And I think that that's really important for people to hear because it's true, your children are always looking to, the elders or someone that they see doing. And that's what takes them on their, career journey. So I really love what you had to say there. Skyler, I know we've got some tracks that you would, that we're going to play today for you. I just wondered if you could talk us through them. I know you've got a track called Equal. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? What's it about and why you wrote it?
I wrote it because of two friends of mine, Shelley Rogers and Kieran Sherry. They own a fashion industry kind of event company called Equal. And Equal is about anyone could be a model. And I learned that from a friend of mine a long time ago, that, he tried to get me to come out and model. He teaches and stuff. And I guess one of them, the models couldn't show up. And he said, Skyler, hey man, can you come in? I need somebody as a substitute for this guy. And I said, well, I'm not a model, man. He said, yes, you are. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, Skyler, when you wake up in the morning, you go to the closet. You're looking for something to wear. And you find something to wear. Mm-hmm. The reason why you put that on is because you want somebody to see it. And he was right. Every morning you're not going to wear the same thing you wore yesterday. No, you go on and put something on that you think somebody's going to attract somebody, to what you're wearing, or you feeling like that today. So, what Equal is about? You could be paraplegic, you could be short, tall, fat, skinny. Wow. Doesn't matter what race you are. That's what Equal is about. And so we bring out all these models from different walks of life, but with incredible designer art on their body, right? Now it's all about your spirit and your attitude when you come out. And so we're all equal. And so I wrote this theme song for this fashion industry event company called Equal. And it's called World Equal. So if you go to worldequal.com, you'll see what the fashion this company's about. And so I invite you to do that. But at the same time, this song is just resonating. So after I wrote the song, they went to the number one radio station in Ireland, in Belfast, and the reception was so beautiful when you write something and it's received like that. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a call from the number one TV station in Ireland, and they flew me in to come back and talk about my what I'm doing with this song. Mm. And so I'm going to spread it out there because I want everybody to feel equal. I don't care what walk of life you come from. You have to shine. All you got to do is shine. All you got to have a beautiful spirit, and then put on amazing clothes, and we're all equal.
That's so beautiful. So well said as well. And I love that. And what we're going to do, we're going to play that track for the listening audience so that they can hear the beauty of your message. And what this what your friend is trying to do, because it's true. Everybody deserves to be seen in their spirit. The spirit is beautiful, and we're all one in spirit. And I love that there are companies and musicians and global musicians like yourself who recognise that and is doing something about it. So we're going to play that track and then we'll continue the conversation.
No matter where you come from, when you turn to face the sun, we're all equal. It doesn't matter what time of day, or where you choose to go and pray. We're all equal. It doesn't matter how cute you are, or if you drive a fancy car. It goes to show your life's bizarre. Even if you're poor, you're still a star. Simple and equal. No matter what your race, this, we'll only roll. It doesn't matter where you're going, it doesn't matter where you've been. The only thing that matters is that you're spreading love, my friends. Here we go. All the boys I love train, it's all in my vein, and we love it like that.
And I know that you have another song that is equally very important, which is called What About the Planet? Can you tell us about that song as well, please?
And it's really important that we write songs about the environment because we have to pass this down to the young people forever. And you know, if you're walking down the street and you see some garbage somewhere, or you call it rubbish over here, pick it up, put it in the garbage can, right? And or you know, about that, see what I love. Excuse me. There's a town that I went in over here in Scotland, and I love it because you know they know about all the plastic and what's happening with the plastic, you know, in the ocean, and you can't get rid of plastic, but there's innovative things going on right now where there's some guys taking plastic from the ocean and making tennis shoes out of them now, right? Really, really cool. But you know, we are having these conversations all around the world. There's a lady, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's a young, vibrant, inspirational congresswoman right now. That's all over talking about the Green New Deal. And so, you know, and we really have to take care of our environment, teach our kids about that. But I in my video, What About the Planet, I show about the polar bears and how, you know, we have global warming. There's people out here in these industries that don't want to recognize this stuff because it's messing with their money, their bottom line, their pocket, right? And these are, to me, they're ignorant people. But it's all about the almighty dollar or the almighty pound, right? But only thing is, if we keep going in this direction, people are going to be getting sick from, you know, with things going on in the planet, in our, you know, our air, all that stuff like that. So it's a beautiful song, and I wrote it with a a dear friend of mine over in Portugal, and Patty Anucci. I had her sing with me, do a duet with the song, and it caught on, you know. So I write all this stuff of women's empowerment, education. You know, I write all this stuff about how we can change things, right? I celebrate women's empowerment because I was raised by 3 powerful women. There's a YouTube interview that I did. If you go to Skyler Jett on YouTube, there's an 8-minute interview about my family and, you know, where I come from. There's a lot of musicians in my family. And my mom, I was raised by 3 women, my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt. And then I had 2 uncles that were like promoters in music. And my brother, my oldest brother, was my father figure. You know, he's 10 years older than me, but, you know, but I was raised around all this art, and I pass that on, and I pass it down, and that's what we have to do. So, you know, like, if you're a musician, don't just try to go and do what the kids want you to do. Try to teach the kids where we come from. You know, it had to start from somewhere, and trust me, music was here before computers were here, and all this, the push button revolution going on, you know, this culture, you know. So, like I said, we do have to inspire, and I use my lyrical content to inspire young people and to shine light on things that we can change.
In this age of climate deniers, legislators are lobbying for corporate interests but reject that these actions are polluting our Earth, and that is a recipe for disaster.
What about the planet? What about love? We gotta raise the consciousness to another higher level of love. What about the planet? Famine and disease. We gotta stop the wars around the world and increase the peace. It's time we had a talk today about the status of our planet. Sunday night we even have a problem. It's extremely obvious, you can tell by global warming, that a change of attitude gotta happen. Now there ain't no use in us denying everything we've been trying ain't sufficing. Here's a question for our leaders to answer. What about the planet? What about love? We gotta raise the consciousness to another higher level of love. What about the planet? Famine and disease. We gotta stop the wars around the world and increase the peace. The vast majority today of the climate deniers can convince our scientists there's no obstacles. They terrorize and criticize, it's an awful situation. How they fabricate the truth is incredible. Now there ain't no use in us denying everything we've been trying ain't sufficing. Here's a question for our leaders to answer. What about the planet? What about love? We gotta raise the consciousness to another higher level of love. What about the planet? Famine and disease. We gotta stop the wars around the world and increase the peace. What about the planet? What about love? We gotta raise the consciousness to another higher level of love. What about the planet? Famine and disease. We gotta stop the wars around the future look like in 2083. blessing. Here's a question for our leaders to answer. What about a planet? What about love? We gotta raise the consciousness to another higher level of love. What about the planet? Famine and disease. We gotta stop the wars around the world and increase the children overseas. What about the planet?
And you know, that is what is so, you know, wonderful about what you're doing, because you are very conscious about, you know, the lyrical content and how it affects the minds, especially of our young people. And I think, you know, it's very noble and very important because, you know, what I'd like to ask you, how much do you feel that music that is negative music, how much do you feel it contributes to the, you know, the things going on with young people, such as the violence and what have you? Do you feel that there's any correlation there between the music that they're hearing, listening to day in, day out, and behaviour problems?
Well, it's, you know, it's all in movies and games and all the negativity. Shoot this person, shoot that person. You know, but like when you watching this propaganda tube, which I call the television, right? When you watch the news, it's not good news. They're telling you bad news, right? So they pumping this. It's like you're on a treadmill, right? They keep pumping it at you. But life isn't all bad.
No.
You have 24 hours in a day, right? Take 8 hours a day for yourself if you can, and if you don't, you're cheating yourself.
That's right.
And you got 8 hours to work and 8 hours to sleep, right? So you know, make sure that you take this time out for yourself. Take 8 hours a day. Don't feel selfish. That's all right.
Yeah.
Take that time out for yourself. And what do you do with that time? You know, I take 6 hours of that, and I try to push out good stuff to people. Because, like I said, life ain't all bad, right? I love people. You go in a room with a bunch of people and everybody's complaining. There's always that one person that walks in the room and goes, "Hey guys, you know what we could do?" It changes the whole attitude, right? So whenever somebody's talking something negative, I go right behind them and talk about something positive, and it cancels out what they did, right? And so that's why I'm doing music for global change, because everybody that does something negative, I'm gonna find something positive today, right? Now the negative has competition.
You know, and I love that you say that. And you know what I want to ask you, Skyler? You know, obviously you've been in the industry for, you know, a very long time, doing so much wonderful work. What do you see? I love the fact that you've got this positive, you know, belief and energy there. What do you feel? What do you see in the for music in the future? What's the future for music in your eyes?
Well, in the not too, you know, far future, more near future, I plan to start doing festivals around positive music. So there's a thing called the Positive Music Associations, and I, you know, somebody told me to join, and I joined, and I found out there's millions of people doing exactly what I'm doing, but there's no hub for it. So I'm creating a hub where we can interact with each other and talk to each other. And when I start doing my festivals, you really ain't gonna need no security, because everybody's coming to hug each other, dance with each other, feed each other, and enlighten each other. That's what my concert is gonna be about. So if you're talking negativity, here's the exit. Here's the door for you, right? We want people. I used to have a radio show myself, Solutions Now Radio, and whenever somebody will come on my show and they start talking negative, I hang up on them.
Wow.
We only want people coming here that has a solution to the negativity, right? So, like I said, you know, the beautiful thing is this last cycle in America, we have now 113 women in Congress. That's never happened before. And they're all coming there to solve problems. A lot of it what men created. You know, men create those guns. It ain't women, right?
Wow.
So you know, it's time to put the guns down.
Yeah.
And you know, we have to put the guns down. We have to put the knives down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're standing in front of somebody and you get into a heated conversation and you have this destructive instrument in your pocket,
mm-hmm.
and then mentally your brain does something, you'll see it because they start raising their voice. When you're in an argument with somebody, everybody raises their voice. That doesn't make your point right because you raised your voice, right? It's not, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, but you can't change the facts. So if you have the facts, you can let them scream all they want to. Yeah, and if you're watching, watch these people about to get, and one of them is screaming, and the other one just stays calm because they have the facts. They don't have to scream. Eventually, if you screaming at a person that's not going to scream back at you, they're not going up to your level. You have to come back down to theirs. So, you know, it's really important that we change the paradigm, change the dynamic of that. Like I said, if you stand in front of somebody that's about to fight, you know what? If you take 2 steps to the right and they take 2 steps the opposite direction, and you keep walking, you'll never see each other again because this earth is huge.
Yeah.
So to take somebody's life, that doesn't solve your problem.
Yes.
That creates more. That creates justice. You might take their life, but then you go to jail. So did that win for you? No. All you got to do is step to the side. They step to the side, and you keep walking. They live, and you live.
You know, it's interesting that you mention that. Have you heard about a young man, Nipsey Hussle, who was doing great things in the world and who recently lost his life?
Yeah, I'm up on it. I'm up on Nipsey and because he was trying to better people, you know. But then you have jealousy and envy, right? And that's what happens when a person feels like they have no, you know, they have no recourse or they have no ideas of how to make themselves better. They get jealous of people that's trying to help other people. And now, you know, he took Nipsey's life and Nipsey was trying to help people, and now he's in prison for the rest of his life. How did that work out for you? It's silly to me, right? So just think about it before you go do that to somebody. What's going to happen to you? Just because they're dead and you go to jail, did that? What? When you kill them, do you think you're just going to walk around and you know, karma is something else. You know, karma will catch you eventually. And that's what caught up to that young man. You know, but he ruined a lot of lives, but then the essence of Nipsey's beauty of trying to give back to his community will live on forever. The guy that killed him, his life is done. Now he got to watch his back in a place of incarceration. You know, he got to watch his back in there now because there's people in there don't like what he did. It's you know, the whole gang thing is a stupid thing to me. You know, that whole gang thing, it's like, you know, it's always that. My mom used to talk like this. She goes, you know, you get a flock of sheep, and it's always that one sheep that strays off that gets the attention. And she said, if you ever want to get attention, let everybody zig and you zag.
Yeah. Oh, you know, you're such an inspiration and so positive, and I love everything that you've had to say, you know, so far. Skyler, can you tell people how they can find you, how they can get in touch if there's people want to connect with you and find out more about the work that you're doing, the new work that you're doing? Can you give your details?
Musicforglobalchange.com. I'm also on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm not a so much a tech guy. I'm more of a dinosaur, right? I love to talk to people and hear your voice rather than text you and stuff like that. It's driving me mad because, you know, when I walk down Princess Street here in my hometown here of Edinburgh, you know, you spend most of your time trying to get out of somebody's way while they texting. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
I mean, it's funny because people got their heads down on this communicator, this palm communicator, right? And they're all walking into each other. I watch them. What I do is I get way to the right or way to the left. I let them all walk down the middle and knock each other out.
Yeah, this is the thing, the addiction to, like you say, the palm technology. And it's really, you know, people have stopped connecting with people. And I'm like you. I'm not really very happy with the whole texting. I know sometimes it makes sense if you're rushing or something, or if you say to someone, you know, meet me here. But to have a full conversation on text, it's not the best form of communicating to me.
You get on the bus and everybody's talking to somebody and having laugh. I see them laughing. All that, you know, what got to me? I was at a party one time, and it was starting to fill up. Right, but two people had walked in, and there was no more seats. So there was one seat directly across from me, and then one right next to me. The young people came in and sat at both of those seats. Right? Do you know these people started texting each other?
Wow!
They're sitting right across from each other. They're texting each other.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't do that when I was young. You had to go talk to somebody.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? You had to go over there and talk to them. You couldn't text them from across the room. I think that's it's so impersonal. So, you know.
That's where we've got to.
The whole, I don't want to be on Instagram. I don't want to be on there. I really don't need that, right? That's why I like to go and perform. And I got a gang of people in front of me, and I'm saying, hey, listen, guys, we have to love more. We have to spread more peace. Right? And we have to teach more. And we have to pass it down to our young people so that they know how it feels just to communicate from the heart by talking to somebody, not by texting them.
Yeah, I love that, you know, because connecting and as well, I feel the way people talk to each other and address each other, but when we live this impersonal way where, you know, people don't really connect anymore, it's very easy to hurt each other and mistreat each other. What do you think?
That's right. That's right. And, you know, I love to hear somebody's voice, you know. I can tell, I can almost tell if you're lying to me or not. On text, you read it, but you go, is this real?
Exactly.
You know, no, I want to hear your voice. I want to call you. How you doing?
Yeah.
How you feel? So I can feel it. I can feel how you feel. You know, it's going to come through your body. It's going to come through your emotion, right? So, you know, for me to be reading all the time about your feeling, no, why don't you just tell me? Why don't you just tell me how you feel? Mm-hmm. I'd rather have that.
You know, the other thing I want to ask you, Skyler, is you're now, you know, you're here in the UK. We love that. How does music differ from, you know, here than, you know, in the States? What's the difference, you know, from your perspective?
There is no different. But you know, I just did a TV show recently, the Pamela Valentine show in Ireland, where, you know, I speak about things in music for global change, my project. And one thing I don't like is that I can go all through Europe and hear as much American music as I want, but we don't reciprocate in America like that. We have the trickle-down effect. The Beatles, Rolling Stone, Sting, and Seal, and Elton John. I mean, there's some amazing talent since I've been here the last 4 years. I've met so many amazing talent people that I now send it to all my friends in America. I just did a radio show where I started with a friend of mine where I'm promoting acts from Europe and Africa and different countries to America, We have the internet now. We don't have to wait anymore. And all the labels over there, it's such an abundance of talent in America. They can't even get all the talent in that they're trying to get in over there, right? But we have the internet. So we can write with each other on Skype. You know,
awesome.
I don't know all the people that you know, Imani, but God bless you because you go, hey, I want you guys to meet my friend Skyler. Yeah. Well, I don't know how many people are listening. I don't know how many people you got in your group, but I can't thank you enough because if they hear me, I become their friends too. Because hey, Skyler's cool, he's my friend. Same way with me. When I tell my friends about your show and what you're doing, I'm introducing you to my friends and my circle. And so we can do that all around the world, and that's what I plan to do. I'm going to introduce all the instruments. So I want young people in America to see these different instruments from different countries, and kind of integrate them into what they're doing. Put a beat on it. Take an instrument, the oud or the kora, and put a beat on it. And still, all I'm asking you to do is write positive lyrical content over it, or lyrics that's going to help your community. You know what I mean? If you could do that, I don't care, once a month. Out of all the love songs you write, if you're going to be talking about what you're wearing or who you went out with and all that and who you in bed, whatever, just once a month, do something different.
Yeah.
Say, you can pick something. We all have imagination, so you go, you know what, if I could change this, okay, put that in lyrics. Put that over some beautiful music with amazing melody. So that's what I'm doing with my time. I don't have time to do. Y'all can do all the negative music you want. Go ahead. I am, like my mom said, if you want to get attention, zig when they zag.
I love the zig and zag. It's so true. Do what's in your heart. You don't. Sometimes it's better to go in the opposite direction than to follow everyone that's going the wrong way. So totally agree with your mum on that.
Yeah, there's followers and leaders. Leaders have to have the courage to break off from the crowd, from what everybody else is doing. And like I said, say you're in a business deal. You started a business deal 6 months ago with about 5-6 people. Well, it's always going to be. Let's have our evaluation, right? And we all come together. And so everybody's supposed to pass each other information. And there's always going to be complaints, right? It's easy to complain. So you get a bunch of people in the room that start a business deal, and they say, what did you do? Well, I couldn't do my job because, Harry was supposed to give me my information, and they're all complaining. But it's always that one person that goes, hey, you know what we can do? As soon as you say that, everybody, yeah, and we can do this too. It changes the whole attitude. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, totally get what you're saying there. Because once somebody sees, a way through, once somebody sees a light, then they show to everybody else. Then they start to see as well, and the whole thing, just takes on a life of its own.
That's exactly right. So, that's what I'm saying. My radio show with Denise Newton, our thing was about, positive vibe. Not only that, but solutions, right? And she, I did a radio show. We was on about 90 minutes and stuff like that. She goes, Skyler, that was cool. We should do that again. I said, how about every Tuesday? And that went on for 3 years.
Wow.
And so all I did was go out and find people that maybe working a regular job, a 40-hour-a-week job, but they always had this in the back of their mind. They had an idea that they wanted, and they was working on it, maybe in the garage at night. They're trying to come up with a solution to something. And I would go out and find those people and bring them on my radio show. And they go, and they go, I got fired from my job. And I said, forget it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I got this invention or something like that. And I want everybody to see what it is. I know it's going to be hard because I'm making money. But if I can get this thing to a certain part where I can find somebody with funding, I can take it over the edge. I look for those people. I celebrate those kind of people.
Yes.
that have an idea and just go for it, because, working for somebody else the rest of your life, you're losing all the time in your life. Mm-hmm. Imagine, and I used to say this to people. So somebody doing that for 30 years and they retire, right? Then they come to Europe, and baby, we retired now. Let's go to Europe. And they come over here, and the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, it's beautiful." And then people treat all this. I wish I'd have came over here a long time ago. Well, you waited till you were 60 years old. If you came over here when you was young, you could walk around. You would have loved it more, right? You could do more, but you can't be scared to take a chance. Like my mom said, if you don't take a chance, you ain't gonna get one. So that's people with courage. And you have to have courage. And like I said, go do something. Turn the TV off. I see people all the time. I see what it is over there. I see. Yeah, but you ever been? You ever go over there and shake somebody's hand? You ever go and try to speak your language in their country and feel like an immigrant? Look, when they come over here, they speak another. Oh yeah, but I can't understand it. Well, go over to their country. I did an experiment too in one country, and I went over, and I think it was in Italy. This like in the 80s and stuff, and I couldn't speak Italian. I couldn't speak their language, right? But I would always, somebody's looking at me, I'd always point to my heart or act like I got a guitar in my hand. Oh, and they would all go, oh, and they would always take me to somebody that played music, wow. And then I can I can communicate because music is in every part of the planet. So if you can't talk to somebody in another country, just act like you play the guitar or something. What do? You can't understand it, but act like you have a saxophone. Oh, come meet my friend. They take you to meet somebody that plays music, and that person is going to speak English at some point, right? So you can go anywhere on the planet that you want to go. All you got to do is introduce yourself as a musician, and the next thing because we all do the same things. It's just the language is different. That's all it is, No matter where I go, they got cell phones or they talk to people and they would put on clothes just like you do all over the world. We have to expand. We have to open ourselves up and cut the negativity out. We have room to cut the negativity out. You just can't be scared to go, hey, I'm a positive person. I don't look at negativity. I don't let it affect me, right? Yeah. And like I said, I wanted to say this too, because if your body lives to 100 years old, that's remarkable. The last thing you want to do is stay in the same building for 60 of those years, 30 years or whatever. That's the last thing you want to do. I mean, go travel. Go see the world. Don't be scared. I've seen flights to San Francisco from Gatwick for $500 round trip. That's about $420 or something like that round trip. Mm-hmm. Now, I've seen people spend money on a couple of suits for that. And, yeah, but I ain't never been nowhere. I've never been over there. Well, you're the only one stopping you. Mm-hmm. You're the only one stopping you. You can put $30 away a week, and still in a few months you got the money to go. Don't just look at it on TV. Go over there and meet people and touch them and enjoy yourself and go see things. That everything you want to see. I'm gonna leave you with this because before you heard of the Golden Gate Bridge, of course, in San Francisco, right? Yeah. Golden Gate Bridge. So a friend of mine, before I moved over here, he took me in his boat. He said, "Man, Skyler, I got to talk to you." I said, "What? I got to talk to you, man. I want to take you out on my boat." So he took me out on his boat, and then, we parked right under the Golden Gate Bridge on his boat, and he turned the motor off. And he said, "I brought you out here, Skyler, because I wanted to tell you that my brother died yesterday." And what he said to me, I believe I was supposed to pass down to you. I said, "What's that?" He goes, "My brother, he had cancer and he had a lot of money, right? So, a few days before he died, he asked God, he said, God, You know what? I give you all the money I give you back all the money that I've made if you just let me go see all the things that I've never seen. Go see the waterfalls. Go see everything that I give you back all the money. Let me go see all the stuff and the beauty of this planet that I've never seen. Well, that changed everything for me. Right there, what he said. And so I go and try to see everything I can. Whether you got a dime or a dollar, just, turn that TV off. People get home from work, first thing they do is go sit in front of the TV. Oh, yeah, well, I'm comfortable now. But take those hours after work and go do something. Go enjoy yourself. Go do something. Don't sit there watching TV. Life is going on. Life is for living. That's what it's for.
Absolutely.
So, Imani, thank you so much. I love you so much for, this invitation to come and express my feelings around positivity, and how we can better our world, and I'm an advocate for that. I'm gonna keep going out there pumping it out, because when I leave this planet, I want to be called a humanitarian, which means, as an activist, that's how I pay my time to the planet.
Yeah, and we do appreciate what you're doing, and it's amazing, and you are changing lives, and I know you're working with people all over the world, musicians, young people, and that's wonderful. Before you go, can you, no one ever leaves the Imani Speak Show without just leaving a few words of, you've been an inspiration today, as you are in your life, but have you got any words for anyone who's sitting at home listening to this and thinking, wow, what can I do? Or I want to be a musician just like Skyler. What can I do? How can I get started? Maybe a young person. Have you got a few words just before you leave?
Yeah, start a circle, an hour a week or whatever, and go find all the people like yourself and bring them into a room, put a bunch of instruments in the room and pick one. And you got to start from somewhere, but just pick it up and start jamming with each other, right? That interaction is so beautiful. And, it's like with anything, once you learn it, you got it. If you learn how to ride a bike, you'll never forget. If you learn how to swim, you'll never forget. But go get a bunch of people in the room. I don't care if you just pick up a cowbell or some sticks or anything. Go in there. And even if you can't sing with each other, right? And it's a group thing. You go and put circles together around people. Get on the internet and find out where people are going just to jam. Get in a room with them, and take your kids with you, because they're going to enjoy themselves too. Go dance. Anything. Do anything but go watch TV and just sit there and let your body rock. No, you got to keep moving. My uncle is 85 years old. He's my last uncle on both sides. And, for 60 years, my uncle walks 90 minutes a day. He gets up in the morning at 6 and he takes his walk. And he comes back by 7:30, goes take his shower. He eats breakfast at 8. By 8:30, he's ready to go to work. But his mind, he still remembers stuff. His mind, he's alert, and he flies all over the world. 85 years old. So you have to keep moving. You got to keep moving. That's what. If you don't, your body will agree with you. Oh, you don't want to move? We can help you with that. Don't worry about that. So you got to keep moving. You got to stay young. You got to think young. I got 9 grandkids, and that's what Grandpa teaches everyone. Keep moving. Go learn as much as you can. Go talk to each other. Go sing with each other. Go play with each other. Mm-hmm. But whatever you do, don't stay in one place. You can sleep when you're dead. Get out, enjoy yourself, and keep moving. And even if you can't sing, go sing.
Wow.
People do it all the time in church. You go to church, they ask you to sing along with them, even if you can't. And you find out it's okay when everybody else starts feeling the same way. They're not judging you, right? And like I said, take age discrimination out of music. take image out of music, right? Take those two things out of music and bring back the human sound. Let's encourage more people to go out, pick up instruments, and go have a good time and enjoy yourself.
Skyler, thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. And, I wish you continued success and blessings in all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And thanks for inviting me. And I appreciate it, that you would invite me on to express my feelings and my love for people all around the world and music all around the world, and how we need to change the whole paradigm, take negativity out of it, and we're going to be okay.